Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome back to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I will be your host tonight, Joe, and I'm joined here with Mr. Richie Kopech and Chris Felice. How are you guys doing today? Chris, start with you.
I'm doing just dandy, not gonna lie. Having a great day. Now I'm here to talk about some fantasy football and why I should dread the next season and if I can defend my title.
How about you, Rich? How you doing tonight?
Splendid. Really having a good week, so just enjoying the new coming of this rookies. So should be very interesting what we're going to see in the next couple of weeks. Very excited, to see what's going to happen in the draft. So
Yeah, it's super
a lot of
exciting
fun
stuff.
talk going on.
Next week we have the combine coming up, so that should be interesting. We might try to do some live stuff coming up for that. So stay tuned. Check our socials, and we'll be posting about that. Tonight's episode we have almost like a dynasty deal or no deal. So we're going to be talking about some draft picks involved in some dynasty trades. Which side of the fence you fall on, whether you think those picks are worth what they're valued at right now, or if you think maybe they should be valued a little less than what you think, but we'll get into that. But first, we'll start with a quick question of the day. Who is your early bounce back player for the 2024 season? Chris, we'll start with you. Who do you have bouncing back in 2024?
I got Drake London. I feel like I don't need to say too much regarding this. Honestly, you probably say this to Kyle Pitts as well. But I'm going to go with Drake London. New coach, Smith is gone. Hopefully we get a new quarterback in there somewhere in the mix. Definitely not going to be Garoppolo. He's out for like 2 games or something because he's, I don't know, was failed the substance test, I believe. Don't know what exactly the details are, but I'm expecting the Falcons to get some sort of QB, either rookie or trade for something. Somebody. I know Fields is tossed around a little bit there, so maybe, who knows? We'll see. But yeah, definitely looking for a rebound season, or I don't want to say rebound, just a coming of a new season for Drake London and hopefully the rest of the Falcons offense.
Yeah, I think quarterback play and we all know Matt how big of a fan Matt is of Arthur Smith, but all that kind of contributed to a lackluster 2023. So I mean, it's only up from here. I agree with you on that one. Richie, who do you have as a bounce back player for 2024?
My player is going to be Justin Herbert. Hard to see a world where really he doesn't end on a higher note than what he did this past season. He ended, I believe, QB 17 on the year, which is pretty low, for what we expected going in. So, new regime coming in as far as coaching and, some help there on the to really help guide him, I feel, So I expect better things this season, that's for sure, as we have seen much success from Harbaugh. So, yeah, I think better days are, ahead for Justin Herbert. Probably, I wouldn't even doubt a top 5 consideration again.
Yeah, I mean, we all know Herbert's that guy, and I don't want to be. I feel like I'm beating up on Matt High here because he owns shares of Quentin Johnson, but it was not his year. Maybe he'll bounce
Sure.
back as well, but he definitely did not do as well as we thought he was going to do. So maybe he'll get some new weapons in the draft, and I definitely agree with you. He should have a better 2024 season. Mine is pretty. It's a pretty safe one to do. You can't do any worse in 2023. Is Aaron Rodgers? um, I mean, he played three snaps and then was done. So you can't. You got it. It's only up from here. But on a real
I
note,
I think it's fantastic that Timu, that like ad from Super Bowl that played like 3 times had more time in the NFL season than Aaron Rodgers did.
oh yeah.
Kind of crazy.
But on a real note, I'm excited to see him in that offense. I mean, him and Garrett Wilson looked pretty good. They looked like they had a good rapport during preseason. I was excited to see them kind of link up. I mean, we all know the animal that Brees Hall is. I'm like, wow, the Jets might be pretty decent. I had them ranked decently high in my rankings, and then as soon as we went from Aaron Rodgers down to Zach Wilson, I was like, oh, maybe not. So definitely Aaron Rodgers is going to do better in 2024. Will he be there after that? Who knows? I saw an interesting report today saying that the Jets are considering maybe looking into trading for Sam Howell to sit behind Rodgers and
That's a
maybe
good one.
be a future starter later down the year, a couple years from now behind Rodgers. So we'll see what happens, but we shall see. But moving on, we'll go into our first trade. The first one we have today is Jamar Chase for Brandon Ayuk and the 2024 pick 1.04. Chris, we'll start with you. What side of this do you fall
Uh,
on? And before we get into this, we're talking for a dynasty perspective, super flex, half point PPR.
yeah, I gotta be honest with you. I think I'm taking. I think I'm. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out the correct English for this. I'm taking Jamar Chase. Whether I have him or not, I think I'm going with that. I feel confident for there's a couple reasons, right? One, the T Higgins situation, right? So T Higgins is, for all intents and purposes, leaving the Bengals, you can imagine, and they are looking for probably a new number two to sit behind uh, Jamar Chase. Now, not every number two is going to be as explosive as humanly possible, and I expect Jamar Chase to continue to being that guy along with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is not a bad football player. He is still great. I expect to, see him probably making another run in the playoffs this coming year with the helps of Jamar Chase. I'm going to say it right now, top 3 wide receiver this coming year. I'm going to do it. There it is. There's the call. And me personally, especially because in my head I'm going for the win, right? I, I love Brandon Ayuk. I love where he stands. The Debo aspect kind of scares me a little bit, and also the Christian McCaffrey aspect. It's not that I think Brandon Ayuk is a bad player. I just fear the fact that I know the ball can be thrown to so many different other places than not Ayuk. Also with the 2024 1.4, I don't dislike getting picks in a sense, but I'm not too. I'm pretty sure it's Jaden Daniels at the 1-4 currently projected. I think Neighbors is like the next one down at 1-5. I think is projected. I could be wrong. Someone can correct me if possible. So you can go get like a young wide receiver or something if you really want. If you're struggling for a quarterback, you could also get your hopefully maybe future star quarterback. Who knows? But it I feel like you can probably get something more concrete for Jamar Chase if you're trading him. Personally, that's how I feel.
All right. Good explanation there. What about you, Richie? Where do you fall on this Jamar Chase versus Ayuk point and the 1.04?
Well, when I initially looked at this question, I really, as somebody who is a lover of Jamar Chase, it was going to be just initially, Jamar Chase is me. If I have him, I'm not getting rid of him. But you got to take into consideration, I guess, the super flex thing here, and that's a 104 right now. You can definitely get yourself a good rookie quarterback. So I think it really depends on your situation. If you have the depth to kind of spare, I understand Jamar is really a slam dunk player as far as just having your wide receiver side on your wide receivers there, but um, the value of the 104, I think right now is pretty good. So I think, like I said, it really is team dependent. But I also just took a step back and kind of looked at the wide receiver, list from this past season, the stats. And Jamar Chase ended as the wide receiver 13 in half point scoring, whereas Brandon Ayuk ended as the wide receiver 14. They were only different by one fantasy point as far as their overall finishes on the season. So, granted, Jamar Chase played with not Joe Burrow. He played with, Browning. So we have to take that into it as well. I think Joe Burrow would obviously beef those numbers up. So if you're looking at a 13 finish with Browning, I think Burrow being back, I still really love Chase. I think he's a slam dunk, but Ayuk has promise. So for me, in a super flex, as much as I want to say I think I'm going to take Jamar, I'm not. I'm going to take the other side. I'm going Ayuk and the 104.
Wow, 1-1.
Wow.
It's really. I agree with both points you guys are both making. I mean, Jamar Chase is considered the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy football, right behind Justin Jefferson. But don't get Brandon Ayuk's also up there, and you're also getting the 1.04 pick. For me, it really depends. Like Richie was saying, really depends where your team falls. But I think the amount of value, especially in this coming rookie draft, like in our previous episode where we did the rookie mock draft, those first 7 picks hold so much value with the talent of player you're getting that I think getting a little bit of a downgrade, if you can even call, I mean, let's face the facts. It's considered a downgrade when you go from Jamar Chase to Brandon Ayuk. Despite whether you think Ayuk's better, it value wise in any calculator you put it into, it's going to be a downgrade. But that 1.04, especially in a super flex league, you're either going to get Drake May or Jaden Daniels, depending on where they flip flop in the draft. And it's say you don't even need a quarterback. Say you can grab Malik Neighbors, who arguably a wide receiver 1 talent and is not the wide receiver 1 just because he fell into a class with Marvin Harrison Jr. So you're getting a future prospect. Maybe he could be better than both of them. We don't know. We haven't seen him in an NFL setting yet. So you're getting an untested rookie as well as Ayuk, who made it to the Super Bowl. I think I lean with Richie. I think as good as Jamar Chase is, and as I hate to do it because you love to base a dynasty team off a wide receiver. That's one of my favorite things to do because they're a piece that stays and lasts for a long time where running backs are come and go. I think you got to take the gamble with if Malik Neighbors is going to be that guy, or if you need that quarterback that say you have 1 quarterback or 2 quarterbacks in a super flex and you really need that quarterback. I think this trade still keeps your team relevant and adds new position depth where you need it. But that's where I go with that. So we're sorry, Chris, but I guess
that's fine. I get it. I get
it's close though. It's definitely close.
No. I get it.
Yeah, it's definitely close. I love Jamar.
Yeah, Jamar's great. Moving on to the next one, we have Michael Pittman Jr. and a 2024 2.04 for Kyron Williams and Alvin Kamara. Richie, we'll start with you this time. Where do you fall? Are you on the Michael Pittman 2.04 or are you on the Kyron Williams and Alvin Kamara side?
So 204, I haven't done enough research, I think, at this point to kind of know what the 204 players look like around that, the draft ADP at that point. But looking just at the trade for what it is, I have worry about Kamara and just, where or what he can do at this point in his career. But Kyron's look good, I mean, if you're in this situation, this is you're taking your shot right now on getting a player at the 204. I believe at that point you should have a decent running back available to you. If you can get sorry, I'm a little all over the place here, but you know what?
Yeah,
I lean
that's
the
a
Michael
tough one.
Pittman Jr. And 204 side actually is where I'm gonna put myself there. You're gonna in this trade. I mean, Kyron Williams is a great player, and don't get me wrong, but I just have worry about the Rams offense as a whole. And I mean, a late draft capital player like that, it's I don't know exactly how much you're gonna get from Kyron year in and year out. Maybe another year. I don't know past that. Michael Pittman Jr. is a proven wide receiver that can definitely play a pivotal role in your wide receiver team. I mean, on your team, on your wide receiver bench room, I should say. And the 204, I think you can grab a running back that can produce just similarly to Kyron. Alvin doesn't really sway me enough. I'm with the Pittman at 204 side.
Interesting. Chris, how about you? How do you fall on this trade?
I'm actually doing some quick look up. Give me
Quick
one
math?
moment. Yeah, sure. Okay. So yeah, let me go back to my little draft thing I had going on here. So this is really tough for me. This specific choice here because it is truly you're going at it from an angle of one team is trying to win and one team is probably trying to maybe, that's what this screams to me, rebuild a little bit. At the 2.4, obviously none of this is cemented in any way, shape, or form, but I actually have some players here. At the 2.3, you have Xavier Worthy. At the 2.4 currently, you have Mitchell is his last name. I apologize. I'm not gonna try and butcher that first name. Adonai. Sorry, I'm not gonna do that. At the run, those are both wide receivers, by the way. At the running back positions, you have Trey Benson at the 2.5, and then at 2.6 you have Blake Corum. So you have like the fair mix of both there, if that's what you're going for. Personally, in my opinion, I think with the year that Kyron had, and I mean Alvin Kamara had a good year. You know, really, really the big thing that you're looking out for right now is the contract stuff, because I believe the Saints can opt out. I actually have his contract here. The Saints have the ability to opt out now in 2024 for this season, and then his contract goes until after the 2025 season. So he's still there for 2 more years potentially, barring any trades or anything insane like that. I suspect no, honestly, I fear for the longevity of Alvin Kamara, but I believe Alvin Kamara had the second most catches of any running back in the entire league. That's extremely good for obviously fantasy prospects. Kyron Williams also had a very explosive season. And while I do think the Rams offense might be a little shoddy coming into this next season, I don't expect Kyron to be that big of a downfall, at least for this time. So truthfully, in my opinion, in the way I'm going to go, if I'm going for the win, I'm Kyron Williams, Alvin Kamara, in my opinion. That's how I'm going. And I think even with that, if I'm in the middle of the road, right, I think I also choose Kyron Williams and Alvin Kamara, solely because I feel like Alvin Kamara will do well enough, and I feel like Kyron will do well enough that if you want to sell them mid-season, that's fine. You can do that. You can totally get picks for them. I have no doubt that they will produce just as well as they did before. That's where I'm going to stand.
Man, 1-1 game. You guys are killing me. I'm not a huge.
You're lagging a little bit, Joe.
Am I lagging? Am I
Yeah,
back?
hold on. Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah, you're back now. You're back now. Welcome back.
Welcome. I'm not a huge, as you guys know, a huge Kyron Williams supporter. I traded him in our Dynasty League to Matt. He's a late round running back. He's a smaller guy. I know he did well this season, but look at Dameon Pierce, also a late round small, had a season, and then the next year kind of disappeared behind a trade. You know, he just wasn't the same. He went from being valued for a first round, second round pick to now you could probably get him for like a fourth, fifth if you really.
You were going for him. I remember this.
I was
really,
gunning for him.
Yeah, you really were.
I thought he was going to hold so much value, and I'm so glad that I didn't.
You're
trade
so
for him.
glad. You are so glad that person did not. Like,
but it just shows the long, like, late round running backs don't guarantee the whole value. Pacheco, Kyron Williams, all these. Don't get me wrong; I think they are phenomenal players. But if the team moved on from them, it's not hurting them in the slightest. It's a fifth, fourth round running back. They could easily move on and trade for someone, draft someone new. So it's always a risk with these late round running backs. Alvin Kamara, very good player, but he is getting up there in age. And like we talked about the free agency, we don't know what's going to go on with him, which scares me because he does have a pretty high cap with the Saints over there, which who knows if he's going to resign there, if he's going to be going somewhere else. And with any player going to a new team, you don't know their usage. Michael Pittman Jr., we saw how dominant he was, even without Anthony Richardson, even with Minshew there, he still had great season. I do expect him to be back with the Colts, but even if he's on a new team, I think he'll be absolutely fine. I think he's just that type of player. And I like the 2.04. I like this draft class, although it might not have the most top elite talent at running back, has so many good quarterback prospects as well as wide receivers that I think it really depends on what your team needs. If your team needs a running back, I could totally see you making the argument that yes, take the Kyron Williams and Kamara side. Gives you two running backs. One of them should be playing and be a starter and be good somewhere. But you could always take the 2.04 and get Michael Pittman Jr., who had a killer season in 2023, and the 2.04, which I'd probably lean Xavier Worthy if he's there. He looks like a great wide receiver. But there also are some good running backs that you could take and hope they pan out. I think I'm on the Michael Pittman side. I think I just like wide receivers more in a dynasty setting. If it'd be different if it was if the younger running back on the other side of the trade was say like a Bijan or a Gibbs that had that early round capital with him, and even if he gets traded, they're still going to try to use him because they spent that early round draft capital on him. But with Kyron Williams, it just scares me too much. So I think I'm on the Michael Pittman 2.04 side of this trade as well. Just purely based on his draft capital and not knowing where Alvin Kamara is going to be next year.
You all heard it here first. Joe hates me. You all heard
Maybe
it.
I'll agree with you on one of these. I promise.
I doubt that.
All right.
Been 2-1 both times.
So next one we got on here is the 2024 1.01. So the first overall trade in the upcoming rookie draft for Tua, Drake London, and a 2024 2.12 pick. So the last round and the second round. Chris, we'll start with you on this one. Or do you want me to start on this one so you can?
I want to do it. No, I want no. I don't want to cheat like that. Absolutely not. I do have a question there really fast. I need some clarity. Am I in the hypothetical side of do I have the 1.1 or do I have the two of Drake London and the 2.12?
We'll say you
Which
have the
one?
1.1.
Let's say I have the 1.1.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing this trade. I'm keeping the 1.1. I'm willing to trade the 1.1, but you can do better than this. In my personal opinion. I mean, I totally understand. Like, okay, Tua is probably the most concrete portion of this trade, right? I actually like Tua. I really do, and I think that he will continue to have the success. He has Tyreek. He has Jalen Waddle. I see no reason why that doesn't keep going. It's the Drake London for me. I understand. I mean, I even said it before that he's gonna have a bounce back year. However, I feel like you can, because of the 1.1, depending on who you're giving it to, you could maybe get more. You could probably get a better wide receiver that had better performance last year than Drake London. The pick is a little shoddy. Honestly, I would forfeit the pick if I could then get a better wide receiver in my personal opinion. So I'm gonna like for this trade on like that we have here, the 1.01 for Tua, Drake London, and then 2.12. Absolutely not. I'm keeping the 1.01.
What about you, Richie? Where do you fall on this first overall trade dilemma?
I definitely agree with Chris here. It's not enough to sway me. I think that Tua is a good player, but I think he's pretty much said it well. You can get more than what was offered here for that 101. I agree with that. Plain and simple, you know.
Yeah, I think I'll make it a clean sweep here. It's just the 1.01 holds so much
Redemption.
value, whether you're taking the generational talent in Caleb Williams or the generational talent in Marvin Harrison Jr., either or are considered already top 10, 12 at their position. So I think you got to offer up a little more than hopefully a bounce back year, Drake London and Tua, who's a solid quarterback, but not considered one of the top five guys there. So moving on to our final question, and this comes from Reddit from the user Full House 222. Would you take the 1.04 and Jordan Love for Patrick Mahomes? It's a 12-team Superflex half point PPR. Chris, we'll start with you. So it's 1.04 and Jordan Love for Patrick Mahomes.
All right. So there is some before I make the decision because I think I have it. There is the extra context here. This person actually did put what each team has in terms of significant weight in a sense of their team. So the team one, the team that has the 1.04 in Jordan Love, they also have the 1.02, they have the 1.04, 1.07, 202, and the 203. And they obviously have Jordan Love. They also have Saquon, Kyle Pitts, and Justin Jefferson. Team two, on the other hand, has no draft picks this season, and their significant players are Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Pittman, Christian Kirk, and Dalton Kincaid. So with all that in mind, I'm looking at this. You know what? See, this is tough. I thought I had something. I really thought I had the idea in mind. This is rough because I don't
So
I don't mind the giving up of Jordan Love for the Patrick Mahomes to some degree. Uh, However, it's the I know we talked about the 1.4 earlier. That could be Neighbors or Jaden Daniels. I think those are the two that's currently floating around in that position. You know what? No, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes. I think he'll have a rebound season this coming year. I know it's probably a semi hot take. I don't think the longevity is there to a certain extent, but I'm looking at who else you have on your team as well as the other picks that you have. Right, you have the 1.02, so you're probably getting Marvin Harrison Jr. Right, most likely is my guess, because someone's probably going to take Caleb Williams. You have the who is going at number 7 right now. That is
Dunze, I think.
yeah, I think you're right, or like Bowers or Franklin. Another solid wide receiver option, hopefully, if that pans out, depending on the teams that they go to. Um, your actual Saquon, I would consider slightly shaky. Justin Jefferson is fantastic. Kyle Pitts, up in the air, could have a nice rebound season. But I think you're solidly flexing out, and also this looks like you're in the rebuild mode. And if your season doesn't go that well, I feel like you'll have an easier time trading Patrick Mahomes because, like I said, in my opinion, I believe he'll have a good season this year. I truthfully believe that the Chiefs will find another wide receiver that they can pair with Rashee Rice if that's who they end up, sticking with in the long run. And they'll be back to this dynamic offense. I mean, they did just win the Super Bowl. There isn't too much you can actually. I know he had a lackluster regular season compared to expectations, but I'm willing to side with the Patrick Mahomes portion of this trade.
How about you, Rich? Where do you fall on this one?
I am going to say I'm going to say the opposite of you. I thought about it, and I think that getting Pat Mahomes when you have kind of the question marks other than what Justin Jefferson, right? So it kind of helps to shore it up, taking a step forward from the Jordan Love on that side. I feel like, and with those picks, hopefully you can kind of really help yourself out. Other than that, and for the other player themselves, I mean, giving up Mahomes and getting a 104 and Jordan Love, I think really helps your team um, to kind of solidify that position more so than just having one top heavy guy in Mahomes. I mean, Jordan Love has been on a more of an uptick as of late. We saw kind of a good season from him. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna say I'm targeting him in dynasty leagues, looking to maybe acquire him as a QB2. In the super flex leagues that I have. And with that, I mean, the 104, as we mentioned before, I believe we were talking about that same exact pick. You have options there as far as a young quarterback to get yourself or give yourself a chance to, like I said, solidify that position. And at that point, spreading it out, I mean, you do have other question marks as well, but you have no draft capital. And at that point, I think you really need to look at letting Mahomes go. So acquiring the picks from Mahomes, I'm okay with. And the other way around, I think you're okay too. Nice trade
Back,
for both sides.
I promised Chris I was gonna side with him on one of these, but
You can just say you're not going to. I know you're not.
I don't know if
It's
I don't know
fine.
if I can. Jordan Love showed us enough this season that he's got
Yeah.
some game in him. I mean,
I
he's ranked
understand.
He's
No,
ranked
I-
as I think the 13th quarterback right now in terms of value for dynasty perspective, and you're know you'd also have to give up the 1.04, and if you look at the draft, that's either going to be Jaden Daniels or Drake May, depending on where they fall. You also have the 1.02, so you're getting most likely Marvin Harrison Jr., but if not Marvin Harrison, you're getting Caleb. So then at the 1.04, you could take Malik Neighbors. Um, that seems great to me. And then you also have the 1.07, which is either going to be um, Odunze or Bowers, usually are the two that swap falling to that spot. Those are some really heavy hitters that you're picking up for this team. And having Jordan Love and, say, Jaden Daniels or Drake May as your two quarterbacks, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. And then you also get to slide Marvin Harrison Jr. right in there. Boom. Boom.
Did you know that? Did you know that Jordan Love actually finished second in passing touchdowns this season? He
Yeah.
only lost to
yeah,
Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
End of the season, top 5
he,
overall.
He
he
looked
had a
good.
hell of a season.
He looked really good. That's why, like, don't get me wrong, Mahomes is the current GOAT of the NFL, but
Yeah.
for a fantasy
Playing.
perspective,
He's the current playing goat of the
playing GOAT,
NFL.
yes.
I do not want to anger the New England fans. I'm sorry.
As a previous Mahomes 2023 fantasy owner, I wish I had someone else. So it just I'd rather have more pieces, like Richie said, more pieces of the puzzle than just one top heavy piece that if they have a bad week, your entire team is doomed. So I'm leaning on the Jordan Love 1.04. I think Jordan Love showed us enough, and that pick in this draft, I think, holds enough value um, to not part with both at the same time.
Can we do a thought experiment really fast
Sure,
with
why
this
not?
trade? All right, yeah, sure. So let's edit this a little bit. Let's go with the hypothetical really fast. Okay, let's get rid of Jordan Love. Right. All right. So Jordan Love's not part of the trade anymore. You still got Patrick Mahomes there. Let's say we upgrade the 1.4 to the 1.2. Okay. And let's say the second piece is maybe like the 202 or the 203. Right. Let's say something like that. Is that more enticing to you now, or is the absence of like the obvious quarterback pick worrying for you? Because obviously at the 202, assuming Caleb Williams goes number one, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Is probably your pick to a certain extent. And then at 203 or 202, you're not probably getting a quarterback at that point. I believe nothing's like going down there. So is that obviously everything's dependent. We're going by what I like see here. I don't know what other quarterback this person has on either side. But is that more appealing to you?
Oh, absolutely for me. I just don't want to give up I don't want to say proven, but a young quarterback that has showed potential. I'd rather keep Jordan Love, but if I'm trading the
Gotcha.
1.02, granted you're getting a very generational talent at that pick, but if I'm getting Patrick Mahomes, who is a proven great player, sure, I'm all for it. Plug Patrick Mahomes and Jordan Love in there, and I'd play that every single week in my super
Rich, are you
flex.
the same way?
It's I like the swap if you're I mean, if you're looking at it in the way that they have a significant player in Josh Jacobs, they didn't really mention anything else about any other running back. Maybe they
Yeah.
do, and like I said, it looks like they have more holes that they need to fill, right? So getting another pick there, I think that helps for sure. Um, it's it's a matter of, I think, your love-hate relationship with Jordan Love, if you how much you really believe in him. And I guess really how much of a rebuild are you trying to go for? I mean, because at that point, if you are just considering the picks for the player, I would even then consider throwing in Josh Jacobs and trying to get more picks at that point from this player who has so many. Um, but but yeah, no, I think it works both ways. It's just, you give yourself more flexibility with more draft picks, obviously, but you get yourself into a deeper rebuild.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Hopefully that helped answer your question. Full house 222, and hopefully you have a good rookie draft. That's going to do it for us here at the Here's a Fantasy Football podcast. Be sure to keep up for That is our X right there on the screen, the Heroes FF on X. We'll be posting updates about new episodes, live events, where you can ask us questions, all that good stuff. So just check that out. And like always, hope you have good luck in your rookie drafts if they are coming up. And hopefully we have some good rookie combine stuff next week. We will catch you all on the next episode. Thanks for spending it with us.
See you around.
Peace out.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Heroes FF.